Hello everyone. Before we get started, make sure to like and subscribe, and leave a comment saying where you're from and when you watched. That way, YouTube will continue to show you stories like this. Now, let's get started. Asterisk, Jack stepped inside St. Mary's Church again, but this time the feeling was completely different. It was no longer the quiet desolation as before, but a dark vitality that surged in every crack in the wall. The candles on the altar automatically lit up, their blue flames flickering like watching eyes. The space was filled with an incomprehensible murmur, like a choir from hell was singing. He clenched the ritual book in his hand. The priest's voice echoed in his head, both sweet and cruel, urging him to read the last pages to complete the unfinished ritual. Jack bit his lip, trying to stay awake. He told himself that he was still the subject, that he still had the will to resist. But his hands trembled. Each finger seemed to turn the pages of the book automatically. When he stepped down to the basement, the room had now completely transformed. The red symbols not only glowed, but also stood out as if engraved in new blood. On the stone table, the black cloth had disappeared, replaced by iron chains. In the middle of the room, the priest's figure appeared clearer than ever. His face was cracked, half human, half shadow, his red eyes burning into Jack. He laughed, his voice thunderous. "You are no longer you. You are me." Jack fell to his knees, his head aching as if it were about to explode. He heard the screams of hundreds of souls echoing. Some were pleading, some were cursing. They told him to end it all, to sacrifice himself to lock the door once more. But the priest's voice urged, "Complete the ritual, and you will be immortal." Jack fell into a terrible vortex of conflict between the dim light of liberation and the enchanting darkness of power. He saw images flashing in his mind. One was a scene of a village being saved, souls being liberated, St. Mary falling into eternal silence. But on the other hand, he also saw himself in a black cloak, standing on the altar, commanding the entire army of souls like an army. The aura of power burned his heart, but the last bit of humanity in him still held on. Jack gritted his teeth, trying to read the words in the book backwards, even though the priest's voice was screaming fiercely in his head, making him feel like he was being torn in two. The room shook, the walls cracked, and stone dust fell down. The chains on the stone table groaned, reaching out to wrap around Jack. He struggled, but the more he struggled, the tighter the chains became. In a moment of despair, Jack screamed, carving a knife into his hand, letting blood flow onto the pages of the book. Immediately, the book glowed red. The ancient words appeared clearly. His blood was the key to activate the final part of the ritual. The priest's voice screamed in his head, "You belong to me." Jack collapsed, but in his pain, he continued to read. The words backwards. The light from the book flared up, mixing with the flowing blood. The souls around him glowed, each figure dissolving into specks of light that flew up through the church roof. The room was filled with the priest's furious screams. His body shattered into hundreds of pieces of black smoke, swirling violently. But just when Jack thought he had one, he realized a horrifying truth. The black smoke did not disappear, but instead merged back into his body. His eyes darkened, a long, evil laugh echoed in his head. He trembled, understanding that he had not disappeared, but only merged deeper with himself. Jack dragged himself up from the basement, his whole body shaking, blood flowing down his hands. The faint sunlight outside made him dizzy, as if his body was no longer used to the light. He raised his head, seeing the villagers gathered in the distance. Their eyes filled with horror as they saw him step out of St. Mary with a haggard appearance, bloodshot eyes. He no longer knows who he is, Jack or the priest, human or demon. The answer is slowly sinking into the darkness. In the next episode, Jack will face the transformation in his own body. When the boundary between human and evil spirit gradually disappears, and St. Mary begins to open a new dark chapter.